G'day, Nagashites. Oh. AOS Coach here. How you going? It is Talking Soulblight Gravelords, and I am honored to have the LVO finalist here. Not the winner, unfortunately. That kind of went to Gavin, your opponent. But I'm here with not Levan, it's Levan. I almost went very Aussie on you and go, Levan? But I've got Levan here from Bulldog Hammer, a channel that I've been following for a long, long time now, cracking battle reports. But more importantly, you have definitely deserved this because you not only went 5-0 at the LVO, you also made it through 2 rounds. So for anyone who doesn't know the LVO, it is a best of the best series at the end where they do like the top 8 and there's like a knockout ladder. And you went on and, defeated 2 opponents to get to the grand final. So Levan, g'day, welcome.
Good day, Coach. Thank you for having me today. And yeah, it's great to be here. Honestly, I went 4-1 and got to the finals. I was number 8. Yeah, 4-1.
You stuck in.
No, that's we will discuss it. Yeah, but yeah, it's great. And also, thank you very much for supporting our channel from day one. We had a crazy support from you. We really, really appreciate it.
It was actually funny. I remember like when your brother Yuri reached out, because Yuri's been a long time, like one of my original patrons. And when you guys messaged and said, "Oh, we're going to do a battle reports," it was great to kind of watch the evolution of those battle reports. So it's been, you guys are doing some cracking battle reports out of Canada as well. So hopefully I get to play on the channel one day. I'd love to travel. But yeah, you're right, actually, because there was 6. I couldn't remember where you landed at the end, but there was the top 6. So the top 6 went 5-0, or the top 5 went 5-0, and then the last couple of slots was a highly contested 4-1, and I think it was like literally almost everyone got like almost every battle tactic in. It was like you're talking like minuscule differences between getting in the top 8 and not getting in the top 8.
Yeah, very competitive event, very strong players. So, and actually, it was an amazing event. Thank you for thanks for to organizers. It was very well organized, and yeah, like until the end, you didn't know if you end up like 8th or 14th or 16th or 20th because points were like I don't know, right?
So tight.
Yeah, very tight. So.
I was so funnily enough, I was meant to be running 100-player my annual tournament had been postponed from October to January, the same weekend as the LVO. If I knew I had to postpone it in advance, I would have tried to come over, but I've already committed to Gareth, who is in the chat. I've said, Gareth, I'm coming over for 2023. So LVO, mark it down. It's Coachella at Las Vegas Open. But I was watching because I was living vicariously through the stream, and well, not even the stream, was actually Best Coast Pairings, which is the tournament software. And yeah, like it was just neck and neck the entire way. You couldn't tell, people, in a very Australian way, like people missing out on a bee's dick. That's a Australianism you might have just learned. But we're not here to talk LVO specifically. We're here to talk about Soulblight Gravelords and your experience, because it was interesting. I've been looking for a list like yours for a long time now. And for anyone who's seen the description, it is a zombie heavy build. And when I've been going through tournament records and looking to see who can I invite to the channel to talk Soulblight, it's been very zombie dragon heavy, Prince Vordry and a bunch of zombie dragons. It's been Blood Knight heavy. It's been Graveguard heavy, people taking 1 or 2 big blocks of Graveguard. But I've yet to see a competitive and do really well focus on zombies. And I've always thought that zombies had some stuff. Like there's just some really good rules if you build around. But you finally did it. You cracked it. You cracked the code.
We'll see how long it will it last, right? I think there was an element of surprise too that helped me really well. I think people weren't expecting from zombie that much of output and resilience because no save, and they say, okay, just 60 models, but it's no save, everything goes, right? But not that easy.
Well,
for
it's
sure.
interesting because I've got a tournament coming up this month, and I've been thinking about the meta. Like, first off, it's my first tournament in third edition because Australia has been on and off non-stop. I was in lockdown for 4 months, so tournaments are only getting the confidence now and the rules to be able to run. We like just rules, like in general, right? We haven't been able to play, and I've been watching the meta for the last 6 to 9 months. Since third edition dropped. And, we were talking about it on Warhammer Weekly literally 24 hours ago. We were talking about the amount of either save stacking you've got in the meta, monster heroes who are able to do like all-out defense, finest hour, mystic shield to kind of ignore rend, and then they heal and like all the ward saves. Or you are going into some really powerful projection of power projection, where you've got long strikes, bow snakes, cruel boys with their bows. You've got so many, even like iron drakes with, a sheer amount of crazy damage. There's a lot of power projection from range. And I've been thinking about it. I'm like, right, well, how do I prepare for this? And if I want to win the tournament, do I go counter to the meta and run bodies, run gits, and just go nothing but bodies, nothing but crappy heroes? But then when I look at what you did and then what I can do, the difference just is uncanny between gits and zombies. So I think, your build and Soulblight is in a really good spot. Why Soulblight for LVO? Let's start very high level for anyone who's thinking about competitive Soulblight. Why did you choose Soulblight to go to the LVO?
Actually, it was a question for me for probably several months. I couldn't find the new army that I want to play. If people were following our channel, they know that we're very heavy destruction players. I've been playing Orangeos for basically the start of my hobby, and I played only Orangeos for tournaments. But then, I got a little bit bored probably, and I don't like where Orangeos right now, even though like people say they're very strong and like they're solid. I don't like where they are in current meta. And I was looking for army. I played a little bit Daughters of Cain. I played a little bit of Cities, and it wasn't not my cup of tea, right? And Soulblight, actually, it was Yuri who suggested me to play heavy zombies and gargant. Thanks to him. And then I said, yeah, and I started looking into it. I like lore. I like vampire stuff, and I believe that what Games Workshop do with Age of Sigmar, they try to, go a little bit away from stereotypical armies like you can see elves with the hammers. There's no stereotypical armies anymore like we used to see in classic fantasy. But vampires still stay very, very classic in Age of Sigmar, and I love vampires. So lore-wise and playstyle-wise, it was great because of flexibility. So now I will tell you why I think they are good for me. Actually, there's one small point. Like you talked to me as if like I played Soulblight for a long time. I probably didn't have more than 10 games before I came to LVO. So for me, it was like learning.
Well, that's good, right? Because there's people in the chat going, right, well, maybe, I haven't played enough, and this is actually a question I get a lot. When am I ready to go to a tournament? And, people are concerned and they're worried about, how many games or how many repetitions. But and I think I saw in the chat, you practice very hard. And I know you got some coaching and some advice from your brother Yuri, and, you obviously got some games out there, but there's no reason there's no limit. Like, you got to have 50 games to go to a tournament. Like, obviously,
I'll tell you even more. Sorry for interrupting, because it's a spot on. First of all, you learn on competitions, because in friendly matches, you can forget something, and your opponent is very forgiving, and you never learn like that way. You only will learn hard way. And during the competition, from the game 1 to game 5, my strategy changed radically, not because of my opponent, because I learned something new about my army, which I would like to share today. So that's that. So why Soulblight? First of all, what differentiates my army from other armies? It's like I don't have a centerpiece. That's very important for my list and for my play style, because I never like to bring Smoke Crush in my Orangeos, because Smoke Crush is down, you're out more or less. So you make a positioning mistakes, you're done. Here, 60 zombies are gone. Okay. You lost double turn. Okay. Your spell didn't work. Okay. gargant dead. Okay, but these OKs, they accumulate in 5 battle rounds, and it's end of the game and you won, right? So they can't kill everything in one turn. So, and very important thing about Soulblight in that particular list, it's not a tank list. So many people look at it as like tank list, you have to just chew through it. No, if it was a D&D, it was a rogue list, because what they do, they steal objectives, they steal battle tactics. That's what they do with their 6-inch piling, with their summoning, with their grave sites. That's how I won games, right? Because people, they weren't prepared for that. They were just think, okay, I need to hit hard, I need to survive. No, a person pilings, let's say he goes to conquer, right? I have so many models, I have double piling for 6 inches. You have 10 models, here you go, there's 11 models, right? And you lose 4 points because of the objective you lost, the battle tactics, so on and so forth. Or what they do, they say that many people think, okay, I control your grave sites, I don't know, I leave one hero there, I leave my hero on the other objective, and it's be okay, right? And in the heat of the battle, they keep forgetting something. You can't remember everything, but I always watch. 1 inch this hero moves, I drop my skellies there, right? And objective is mine. So I always watch. So these guys is just thieves. They're not tanks, right? So that's great about this the army.
I was dying laughing. I couldn't agree more. I think the great thing, look, I have painted 200 goblin stabbers, not like goblin models, goblin stabbers. And I was looking at what Pete the Wargamer said, and Bob as well kind of mentioned it, is like the punishment essentially is, you've got to paint like 100 zombies, 200 zombies. So I think if you have the guts, and thankfully you've got contrast. When I painted my 200 goblins, there was no contrast back then. And I actually had to do, when I was trying to like get my washes down, I did 3 coats of Nuln Oil to get the black coke. So you definitely got a lot easier with contrast. But I love that your point is that you were essentially counter to the meta, right? Because right now there's a lot of heroes and safe stacking going on. I've already mentioned it. Alariel, Morathi, Gotrek, Archaon, Nagash. There's Super Smash Brothers happening on the table, Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, and people are targeting those, and people are starting to get really smart on damage output. And when Sons of Behemoth really went out there, and in the early days of Age of Sigmar 3, they were the boogeyman. It was, can I do 35 points of damage to a Mega Gargant and pull it off the objective? Because otherwise I'm not going to score my battle tactics, and I'm not going to be able to win the game. I need to be able to pull down a Mega Gargant a turn. And people have been building their lists around pulling them down. But when you look at your list and you look at the way that Soulblight plays, I like your interesting take, because you're not relying on a particular unit. You have an absolute horde of bodies. The save stacking doesn't matter. The mortal wound output doesn't matter, because you just have so many bodies that just clogs up the board that you are denying body table position. You are helping to deny battle tactics. And well, I will bring up your list, folks. And I want to kind of talk a bit about the thinking that Levan had going into the LVO, so that you understand. And because I've seen a lot of Blood Knight lists, and I'm not quite sure if they're the right builds for Soulblight right now. Obviously, if you want to run Blood Knights, you do you. I'm not telling you not to do it, but I love exploring other parts. I'm not seeing nearly enough Fellbats on the table. I'm not seeing nearly enough some of these other heroes. And I think there's a lot of play out there other than just trying to flood the board with Graveguard.
Which we can discuss each unit that you mentioned, because they deserve to be mentioned, because Fellbats are really good unit in this particular list. For example, when you bring my list, we will discuss, right? And worth mentioning Gargant too, because he's one of my centerpieces in my not centerpiece army, right? Why I'm bringing him? So first of all, he goes as a gatebreaker, the most powerful one. So now you see 120 freaking zombies holding the objectives, and also there is a gargant. So now what you should do, either you should zombies or you have to deal with a gargant. So he's a classic trap which takes at least, well, if the opponent is lucky and has crazy shooting, 1 turn or at least 2 turns, which I don't care, because these 2 turns I generating battle tactics and objectives like crazy. And when my gargant is down by battle round number 3, good luck killing 120 zombies and removing them from the objectives. So that's one. Or if you don't kill my gargant, then good luck getting hit by him, right? Because he's still smashing like hell. And he's a combo with Vangorian Lord that I want to discuss also later. It's just magnificent.
All right. Well, we will get to your list. I might just do a quick, for anyone who's really quick, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we'll come back to the list in a minute. So don't pause the video and we'll come back to it. But we do have some interesting to talk about. But I want to get to the lessons first, then we'll go to the list. So you've gone 4-1. You then went on and played 2 rounds of the finals and then got beaten by Gavin with his Stormcast heavy Cities of Sigmar Living City, which is just incredible damage output when you look at the Fulminators, you look at the Dragons, you look at the crossbows. And if anyone's interested in the final game, the Honest Wargamer, through the likes of Joe Cryer with a mobile phone, was actually filming and live streaming the broadcast. So it was an interesting game. Unfortunately, it didn't go as long as I think we would have liked it to go on. I think you losing the priority role into turn 2 really punished, and I think a lot of people in that position would get punished with the type of list that Gavin had. But what did you learn about Soulblight through the tournament? You know, was there particular armies that you were worried about that you faced? I noticed things like LVO, LRL, Lumineth Realm Lords. There was almost they weren't in existence. It was a heavy Stormcast meta. Daughters of Cain didn't really do that well. I think there was one particular list around the top 20. I think it might have been Thomas, but certainly wasn't at the top. What did you think the meta was going to look like, and what was it actually like at the tournament?
I was expecting more Daughters of Cain, and I was expecting more Seraphon dominating the market, let's say.
Yeah, Ridge was the best Seraphon player. I think he was like top 20.
I think he was not. He is the best Seraphon player so far. But yeah, he ended up top 20, 4-1. Also, there was the game I lost to Daughters of Cain. I was really afraid of Daughters of Cain because I think my army a little bit have problems with Daughters of Cain. And I lost to our Canadian fellow Dayton, who actually brought not the bow snakes, but spear snakes. And the list was crazy and he played well. There were some mistakes made from my side, but it was a great game. So yeah, I didn't expect so much Stormcast. Well, I thought there will be lots of them, but it was just
there was a lot
dominating
of
Stormcast, right?
I almost feel like the Lumineth players might have jumped to Stormcast because there was just an incredible amount of Stormcast, and a lot of them were dragons, don't get me wrong, but even in the top 8, Magonk with a non-dragon build. There's a lot of dragons, like a lot of, actually we'll come to that one. I want to ask you about what you thought about the dragons and things like that, because they are terrorizing right now, especially in, just in general, like Living City and non-Living City. But yes, so what did that do for you, having so heavy Stormcast in the meta?
Depends on the list. So I think the worst list that I could face, it's my final list with Fulminators, because they just demolish everything they touch. And imagining getting double turned, it's basically whole army is demolished. Crazy output. Other than that, there is a very strong Annihilator list, which actually I think I'm good against, which I had on quarterfinals. Again, top Stormcast player, brilliantly played everything. But whenever Annihilator brought into my zombies, I lose like 20, doesn't matter. They kill 3 annihilators, right? So that's that. With dragons too, it's more like resilience game with them, because they're not as much as I found crazy damage dealers. And what I was really, really lucky with, that my the Creepify spell worked all the time. So his dragon hero was always -1 to hit and -1 damage, and having a -1 to wound card behind, it slowed him down enough to me for me to just generate points. So I won't probably 2 victory points by the bell round number 5. So it's more resilience game. So the worst case for me, it's something that comes to me and demolishes whole unit right away. As soon as I'm losing units, I can't do anything, right? It just or heroes or something like that. So I just need to be there for a long time, at least for 3 bell rounds strong, to generate enough points to win the game, and then I can just disappear from the battlefield.
Interesting. It's interesting because I've said this a few times now, and I said it with Nurgle, right? Like, I know when people saw the Nurgle battle tome, they were quite upset. You know, they thought, "Oh, this is trash. I'm going to throw away Nurgle. You know, it's not fast anymore. It doesn't do what I like to do." But I said, guys, it's resilient. Like, you know, you're going to take a punch with a smile and then keep going on scoring some battle tactics. And it's interesting because, and this is kind of what I was talking about early on about me thinking about taking my gits, because I've got the resilience through bodies, cheap bodies. I get them back from the Loon Shrine on a 4+, but I don't regenerate them in the moment. While you've got a ward save, which I don't have as a gits player. You have the ability to come back on a 4+ if it's a skeleton, a 2+ on a zombie. You've got heroes that can bring models back. And it was funny because I was talking to your brother Yuri when you got into the top 8, and I saw the pairings, and you were up against James O'Brien, I think it is, and James was playing the all Stormcast Dragon list. And I think, you know, Yuri, and maybe it was yourself who I was talking to. Yuri wasn't sounding so confident for your game. And I kind of put some thoughts around, you know, I think you've got the ability, right? Dragons want to get into combat and do some damage. They want to be able to shoot you off. There's a whole bunch of things, right? They really want to take advantage of the board and some double movement stuff and all that good things. But you don't care. You're clogging up the board, and you've got so many bodies that as long as you can, and the small dragons only have a short breath attack. It's like 12 inches. So if there's good abilities to be able to screen those heroes. And the mortal wounds are quite swingy too. And you've obviously got a ward save. So, and it kind of showed. But then when you went to the Living Cities, and the Living Cities brings a lot of melee to the dragons, as well as some other units that is kind of lacking. That's kind of where the mismatch came up. But hopefully we don't see too much of those types of Gavin builds. Please don't, people.
Yeah, well, the thing is with Living City, my initial plan was to keep my giant in the middle and surround him with zombies, so he cannot be charged with many models of fulminators or dragons. But then, so if you guys know that we find out about the battle plan right before we start deploying, so we didn't know what battle plan. And when I saw 6 objectives, I said, "Oh my god." You know, so I had to spread out because the problem is I had to spread out because he can come up everywhere, right, from the edge. So I had to just be everywhere like that, spread. And I put my giant with my Vangorian Lord on the right. The only thing, I was hoping that he cannot kill my Vangorian Lord from breath right away, but that's what happened. If my Vangorian didn't fall with reduced rand or something, I think I could be able to at least hold 1 turn and then reposition myself. And the shooting, right? It's like, what you gonna do? You stay, you got shot. You move forward, you got shot, right? So...
Yeah, look, it was a really tough matchup. So, like, you know, first off, credit to you for getting to the final. And you know, yes, the game ended early, but I think it was just an unfortunate series of events. You know, you had a tough matchup. If you had a battle plan that had less objectives, if you played, you know, in a different sequence, I think things would have been a little bit different. But the fact that Living City has a lot of movement flexibility, you got 6 objectives and you can't kind of control all of them. And your type of list as well is a very much a strong castle, right? You've got lots of bodies protecting heroes. You throw power out where you need it. but you're ultimately moving as a
let's be
horde.
honest, like Gavin is probably top player in ITC for sure. Like he wins tournaments left and right, and he knows what he's doing. So like he probably not probably, but he deserved the win, and I was really happy that he won. And the thing is very good that every contestant had very friendly attitude, and environment was amazing. So everyone was great. James, that I faced actually on my his dragon list, he was number one in 5 games right before the finals. So
Yeah,
they
he
matched like
he was top. He was
yeah.
top. He was like
So
5
they
and 0.
matched
He was
number one
crushing.
with 8. I was 8th, right? So guys were just incredible with the play style, the tactics, and everything. But yeah, Gavin ruled. He knew what to bring to be the most efficient, and he did what he did, right? So no complaints about that.
Do you think this type of build is something that people listening to this should consider? Because I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat and they're pumped for you because they've been waiting for a zombie list, or they're looking for they've got like a lot of skellies as well. They're looking for a very similar build with skellies. And I think there is. I think obviously there's a couple of differences. Obviously, you don't get the 6-inch pile-in, you don't get the regeneration on a 2-up, there's no mortal wounds on the 6s. It's not nearly the same, but I think people in this chat have been looking for a horde meta, especially in Soulblight. Do you think this is a playstyle that people should be considering, and if so, why?
Well, if you have a strong back, then for sure, right? Because lots of moving.
Literally, when you're pushing around that many models, when I used to play Gits, I would get so brain drained by day one, because you've got so many wholly within circles and ranges and moving intricacies of little, like so many troops, and like get to a point where you just push them up the table. But back to you. Do you think a list like yours with lots of skellies or lots of zombies you should be thinking about it, and why?
That is my list for some time for sure. I enjoy playing that. I like horde armies. I never played horde armies basically, but I like the concept because then you have more feeling that it's like really war going on, right? Real battle, right? Then you have few models run around like skirmish, right? That's that. And I don't know. There's so many moving parts. That's what I like. I think by my play style, I'm more like a counter-attacking player. So I always adjust what's happening. So I need tools to be able to adjust. And if I have central pieces or small units and I lose them, then I'm done, right? So this is my play style. I won't move unless Nighthound will be great. Kids, the new book will be great or something like that. I love the book,
I just need a White Dwarf update like Beasts of Chaos did. My gosh, I don't know if you saw that. The leak came out, and Beasts of Chaos are OP. They are going to be terrorizing. If you see Beasts of Chaos on the table, do not underestimate them.
anymore.
That White Dwarf has just made them insane.
I just wrote terrain rules, and yeah, yeah, that's terrain. But yeah, so that's great, and it's something that differentiates your list because for probably 1 year we had this basic concept of the army building. You have strong shooting, shield, and probably some magic. Shooting, some screen and magic. And it's getting like so much, like all the tactics, all the games are the same. You know what Doors of Cain is doing, like Mind Razor and go forward and shoot with a both. And like here, I think it's Vince said that the Soulblight book, it's the book that how it should be. It's super flexible. Even yesterday, we were building my list for upcoming Saturday RTT with my brother. We have completely different lists, still with heavy zombies, but no gargant. And even in there, like there's so many small pieces that completely change your play style, and it's amazing. Like I read the book and like, okay, which legend? When you read other books, it's like, okay, I know I go with Harkness or I'm going with that, and it's always like that, right? How it was with Petrifex Elite. It's only Petrifex Elite, right? Here, almost every dynasty, it's incredible, and it's like just choose what fits your play style. Book is incredible, so why not? Yeah, I think it's the best book so far in the Age of Sigmar. Not maybe
So
it's not the most powerful, but it's most versatile, flexible, and lots of things to do, right? So
yeah, so secret OP that way. I actually played Legion of Night in the old book. So I was a long time Legions of Nagash player. I played Manfred before he was cool, when Manfred was the most expensive Mortarch and the least useful of the Mortarchs, when Neferata and Arkan were running around doing much better jobs in Legion of Nagash. And I remember, like, one of my biggest criticisms with the Legions of Nagash book was that you could take a list, change the Legion, and it really didn't change. Like, you could take Legion of Blood and then put the same list in Legion of Night, and it would be only minor differences. But you're right. When you look at Soulblight Gravelords, there is now foundational builds, and they vastly different when you go to Viercross versus Blood to Night to Evangorian, and like you go to the different builds, which is awesome because it means that you've now got a real strong focus, which then kind of leads me to the question I wanted to ask you. Why did you choose Viercross, and did the new Legion of Blood rules from White Dwarf make you think about changing? Because Viercross is still very popular. It's the one that people are most leaning to.
Yeah, so why Viercross? I like the command traits and artifact from there. Command traits is Pack Alpha, which gives you free command point, which where you're very hungry for command points in that build, because you need bravery, you need extra attack, you need so much stuff. Maybe all out attack for your gargant or defense, so you need the CPs, and it's generating not once per battle round, it's generating every turn. So that helps. Also, rerolling costs is pretty good because
that is so good.
Nice, very nice spells, really nice spells, decent spells that you want to use and utilize. The good thing about them, they're not something like, okay, if this spell doesn't work, I lost the game. But it's small things that accumulate and help you, right? So yeah, that's why. I also thought about Legion of Night and bringing Belladama, and her using her spell that brings wolf in a damaged unit. Then you can shut down shooting somehow, right? But then
except for Lumineth, like
you can't do anything, right?
Yeah, like it sounds good in theory. Like, oh, I'm gonna cast this spell against some sentinels, and then I'll turn one into a wolf, and then they're pinned, and they can't do Unleash Hell. And then you remember you're not getting any spells out through.
But again, you don't see Lumineth so much now. You see Stormcast that don't have lots of unbinds. You have Daughters of Cain that don't have so much unbinds and crazy unbinds. But again, Belladama has a keyword of Vicus, so it doesn't work. Yeah, also Legion of Night has amazing artifact which ignores random shooting. And if you give it to Vangarian Lord, he will be a tank machine. He can't be shot because he would be always on 2+ save. And in close combat, he's pretty tanky. So yeah, I'm thinking about Legion of Night too. But so far, I want to familiarize myself with Varkas, know what I'm doing exactly. It should be automatic because I'm forgetting lots of stuff while I'm playing. If you're asking me,
I mean, the two sets of rules there. I'm just looking at them there. The +1 to wound for like your death rattle, your zombies, and then as long as they're near a hero, right? Especially a vampire hero, you take a couple of foot, or take a couple of foot heroes. Happy Days. Well, they don't even have to be foot heroes. They can be obviously big monsters, but so if you want to go horde skellies or horde zombies, the Viercross definitely kind of leads into you. And I love the re-rolling of casting right, because if you just get a spell through and you're like, oh, this will get unbound, and I really want, Van Hales or whatever it might be. Oh no, but no, not Van Hales. Van Hales is a necromancer. But you know what I mean? Like you cast a spell, you could re-roll that, or it can help you avoid miscasts, which is just a great thing as well.
Yeah. So it's a great Dynasty. If you compare it to Legion of Blood, it's just completely different build, right? Different models and everything. So
yeah, and like I think the White Dwarf supplement is really cool. But I can see why you wouldn't want to. But I think overall, I always felt that with this Soulblight Gravelords, being a Cities of Sigmar player, that's like who I am as the core. When Cities of Sigmar first dropped, it took ages for it to hit the tournament scene and do well, because there's a lot of practicing, a lot of nuance, and there's a lot of great options. And I think we are starting to see Soulblight Gravelords find that sweet spot. Yeah, we found the easy tricks, which was the Grave Guard and doing mortal wounds, and you pop them from a gravesite, you have a White King or a Vampire Lord, and you stack it. We've obviously had Blood Knights with, 2-up armor saves, happy days. But I think now we're going to start seeing some list tech with Direwolves, start seeing more things from just Manfred. I think Neferata will come back in some way. I think we haven't seen Neferata just yet. She's still good. And I think those rules from White Dwarf have made her even better, and her allegiance. And I love that you're exploring this. Anything else you want to add, or I'm going to go to your list?
Yeah, let's go with my list.
All right, let's bring it up. I'm going to close off the chat for a second. Yeah, I think there's some great things, right? I think one thing that, if I remember my experience as being an undead player, I love the flexibility of the grave sites. I love the flexibility, especially as like a Legion of Night player. I used to play a lot of, and I think maybe as well, Legion of Night's worth considering. If we are going to have a lot more power projection, like long strikes, for example, well, I can just take them off and put them on the side of the table. If there's something that I really need you not to kill, my Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, some type of super powerful unit, my Grave Guard, I don't want you to shoot off my Grave Guard, we'll pop them to the side. And then I can still put things into the grave sites that, there's a lot of flexibility. Cool. I'm actually going to stop talking, and I'm going to bring up your list. So you did go with Veercross, and you chose Hold the Line, which makes absolute complete sense. I noticed that our picture is hiding one of the spells, so I'll talk it through. But the leaders, I guess I'm curious to find out, why did you take what you took? What would you do now? Would you change anything post-event? If Stormcast continues to be strong in the meta and overrepresent, and dragons are our boogeyman now, would you change this at all? So just read it out for the people listening on the podcast. You've got Gorslav in the list. You've got your Necromancer with the Arcane Tome and Decrepify. You've got Fort Kicker. You've got yourself a Mercenary Mega Gargant. And you've also got a Vampire Lord on foot, being the general with the Pack Alpha, and you've got Soul Spike and Invigorating Aura. You've also got a Vengorian Lord with the Terminus Cloak. You've got Flaming Weapon and Invigorating Aura. Then you've got 60 zombies, 10 skellies. You got the Corpse card. Man, that Corpse card, love a good Corpse card. And then you've got it with a Warlord Battle Reg, and you've got yourself an artifact. So talk to me. You've got 8 drops, so you weren't really worried too much about the drop game. A lot of people talked about Battle Regiment lately, and trying the race to go to be as low as you possibly can. So I'll be curious to find out why you didn't try to just go absolute like 1 drop as well, or 2 drops for you. All right, I'm going to stop talking. Talk to me a little bit about your list and how this all kind of came about.
So having this particular list, of course, Gorslav can be seen as like must to have, because he brings half of your destroyed summonable unit back within 12 inches from him, or 12 or 9 inches from him. So instead of rolling on Battle Shock 5 pluses, that you can bring 30 models, 30 wounds, or 30 models on the objective, and still have the objective, which helped me many times. But also, honestly, I was rolling for 5 pluses really hard during tournament. So Gorslav really didn't have a play in that tournament. So
I was going to ask you about Gorslav, because I'm looking at this going, I don't see a lot of Gorslav. He is not someone I know. Like, what were you thinking that Gorslav would bring to the table?
He brings like this half of the destroyed unit when you need it, right? Where you need it. Because it's usually he comes to play by by round number 4 or 5. But it's where already there are like very few models left from both sides, let's say. and you need this objective. You need to get that. You need to hold your own objective, right? So it's the must that you need to be like confident that you have extra 30 wounds in your pocket. However, being more, let's say, risky and aggressive, you could take fell bats, knowing the current meta, and just protect your giant with its screen, because it has a large base, pretty large base, 40 mil. So 3 bats, they can like hide like several inches and screen the gargant from one side. If I, for example, had that screen against Kevin, that would probably could save me my gargant, right? So that's a trade-off that each player should decide by themselves. Necromancer is of course, it's a must. Double
Can
pile-in.
Can I just pause you before? I just don't want you to get too far ahead. Couple of questions I've got for you is, early on in 3rd edition, there was a lot of talk, there was a lot of theory hammer about things like fellbats. Like, oh, if I don't want someone to use Unleash Hell on me, so I'm going to use fellbats to charge them in, and they'll take the damage before insert unit here charges. But we don't see that happening. Despite that we now have more shooting than ever before, we haven't seen that tactic. Do you think it's just a good in theory, not good in practice? Do you think it's something that we just have to practice with even more? Or like, why would you eventually go with... Because first off, I love Gorslav in their list. I've just re-looked at his rules, and the Arise, the ability to bring back a unit at half strength in the movement phase. Because my second question was going to be, how does Arise work with Endless Legions, given that you can bring back bodies as well in the Battle Shock phase? So I guess I'll unpack my questions. One, why didn't you go with the Fellbats and you went with Gorslav leading into the LVO? And is that going to change?
If we take this particular list, and if I already knew how I would perform on LVO,
sure. Let's say we're not going to hack apart this list. Like we're going to be consistent.
Yeah. So let's say bats would really have a good game in a tournament for sure. That screen that you need to have strong positions, right? Because all you do is buying time and generating victory points. So that extra screen with crazy 14 movement, it's something, and plus run, right? So it could be up to 20 inches movement, and you can screen whatever you want, full meters, whatever. That might really help. So the only problem now, it's like there are other stuff that's really, really great in the Soulblight book. So it's hard to get enough points to squeeze those bets. But I'm pretty sure that there will be list this year that I will bring somewhere and try bets, because I think they're pretty good for what they cost and what they do.
They're just always the first thing I drop from my list. Like I'll always build the list and I just go, right, well, let's, I'm just over points, or I'm not quite getting everything I need into my list. And I just always find fell bats at the first thing I pull out, because I still need my heroes. I still need my troops. But one thing I do like about the fell bats not being battle line is it means they're not going to give away broken ranks as a screen. While if you screen with, let's say, your skellies, they'll die super quickly and you give away broken ranks.
Correct.
And I think, Holy Hand Grenades mentioned, things like Black Knights. That's another option. A little bit more expensive from memory than Fellbats. Not as fast as Fellbats. But again, it's another mechanic that would probably work well.
Yeah, so that then we go into Necromancer. He's the must, I believe. With Arcane Tome, you cast first spell that allows zombies to fight twice, which brings them to... if you add everything up to 12-inch pile-in during combat phase, which is crazy. You can get to any objective if you want. And the second spell is Decrepify, which helps a lot against, let's say, at least like Mega Gargant, because giving Mega Gargant -1 to hit and -1 to damage, it's something, -1 to wound and -1 damage. It's just crazy, right? So suddenly from 3 flat damage, they go into 2, and good luck killing 60 zombies. Plus you add card and etc. So Decrepify is an amazing spell. that helped me against gargants, because I had one game against gargant breaker tribe, and it helped me against dragon James list. Yeah. And also he's pretty survivable.
Keep going.
He's pretty survivable. He transfers his wounds on 3+ to zombies. So if your opponent really needs to kill him, he needs to overkill him with the shots, right? So
yeah, it's funny actually, because a lot of players, when they fight death, is they always split their attacks. I found this as a death player, and I always find this as an opponent of death player, is do I focus all of my attacks and have spillage and just like waste a bunch of attacks? Or do I split them and try to get the optimum? And I always learned that when you split the attacks against death, it's always a bad time, because it always 1 or 2 wound stays on what you needed to die. And it's just a nightmare. Couple of things. Yes, Fellbats are summonable, but obviously not keyworded to anything with like zombies or skellies, which impacts some of the interactions. But I did want to ask you, there was one other question I asked you about Gorslav that I just want to loop back to before we move forward. Was I mentioned the ability of Gorslav can bring back in the hero phase with a Rise and Rise, but then you've also got the Deathless Legion, or Endless Legion, sorry, that impacts your zombies as well. So how do you think about those two rules interacting? Like, why is it that Gorslav's movement shenanigans is worth it compared to just waiting till the end of the battle round?
Because it's 5+, right? And if you really, really, really need it and you don't roll it, then what you're gonna do? So Gorslav, it's like your insurance agent. He's there if something goes really south and you really need it, and he's only 75 points. Also worth mentioning that he's a hero, and you know that there are lots of aura effects, command points. Zombies can issue command points to themselves, so he's like he's like a backup for you to issue command points, help with bravery if all your heroes are down, right? So he's just a backup hero to, if something goes south. He's not an active player during the game. He comes probably around 4 or 5.
Yeah, no, I know. I just wanted to make those connections for anyone who are thinking, well, what's the point? Like, why would I bring a 75-point hero where I could just bring bodies back at the end? But the fact that it also brings back into the movement phase, that allows you to potentially shore up an objective, right? It allows you to maybe throw up a screen before you give away the turn. You could do a Hail Mary long bomb 9-inch charge, right? Like, there's a couple of options to consider in the movement phase versus just the battle shock phase, where you really can't do anything more after that. Unless you obviously win the priority roll, then you're okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's go to anything else from the Necro. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to miss that point, because some people might be thinking about the value of that. But I think Gorslav actually, I think it's a really good call. I think people should definitely consider getting Gorslav. I like that 75% insurance policy.
Yeah, don't forget that he's a hero, right? And zombies can't issue command points. And honestly, if you're facing heavy shooting army, then your Vampire Lord and Necromancer are down, and you need third hero to just help with the braveries and the command points, right? So,
and I guarantee you, no one is targeting Gorslav. People will look at these heroes and they'll go Necromancer, Vampire Lord, Vangorian Lord. Like, Gorslav will be the last target on that list.
That's correct. Yes.
So and that's perfect, because when you need him, really is the back end of the game, which hopefully he's not being targeted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and also Gorslav has the bodyguard ability, and cool.
Yeah.
Well, happy days. That's awesome. He's bouncing wounds to zombies.
Yeah, that's correct. So yeah, he's pretty decent for 75 points. Like,
it's outstanding for 75 points. Give me 7 Gorslavs.
Yeah, the only problem, I wish they released his box separately from Core City box, right? But
well, hopefully that's soon, man. We don't know what's happening with Curse City, but hopefully, I heard rumors last year they were going to split up the box. So
that would be great, because the model is great. Then we go to a big drug of Fort Kika. Like, I don't know if you want to discuss it more. I think we already talked about him a lot. He's first of all a trap, and if no one shoots him and he's still alive, then he fights like hell and hits like a truck. So worth having him, just to buy 1 or 2 battle rounds to get position for your zombies, right? Because he's a target number 1, whatever you do. Whoever you face, no one will shoot zombies while there's a gargant. However, I dropped him now because we as a Canada, me and my brother, we're going to nationals, and we can have similar war scrolls, and he's bringing gargants. So I have a different list, which I think it's pretty good. We'll see on this Saturday. But yeah, I think he's interesting choice. Vampire Lord is the must.
No, before we get there. So, as a Soulblight player, what do I give up by well, first off, why would I take the Mega Gargant instead of something naturally in my army? More zombies, Vampire Lord, Prince Vordry, Manfred. Like, why wouldn't I take something that's already in my book? And what do you gain and lose by having it in the list? I think is the key here, because it's a bunch of wounds, right? It's a great hero. You're giving away your CP, giving away CP to have the Mercenary Mega Gargant. And I know why it's in the list. It's an outstanding choice. But someone might be thinking, well, why don't I just get Prince Vordry?
Because Vordry is I believe he's 18 wound model. Or even less, 14. Actually, I don't remember already.
I think he's about 14 or 15.
Yeah. So he gets killed first turn if you don't take the turn. If you take the turn, he's pretty swingy. It should be just kamikaze roll that you just smash, and while the your opponent deals it, you get the position. But I think Gargant deals with it much better. Takes this roll, right, like a trap. So Vordry, what I find with Vordry, he's very good first battle round where he charges. After that, he's done, right? And you're left with just zombies, right? And that's it. Just not enough wounds for him to survive long enough as you want, right? So I bring Gargant.
That was more of a rhetorical question as opposed to specifically Vordry. So I'm like, why wouldn't I invest that 500 points into as many Blood Knights I can take, or like some type of other smashy
Blood Knights are I considering Blood Knights great unit with 3+ save. Maybe not in Vikras though. Also, right now, how I substituted my Gargant is with Belladama and Radakar or the Beast.
No, we call him Chadika. He's Chadika the Beast Lord because he is a Chad.
Sorry?
He's a Chad. It's all right.
Oh, okay, okay.
Radika is actually something that I would have expected in your list. Like he's very good because he's. Just
I don't know
if
he's good enough. I'll tell you why I'm a little bit skeptical about Radika. Belladama is great. She's a 2-level caster with +1 casting, pretty mobile. And with wolves, she's very hard to kill. So I love this model, but I have doubts about Radakar at the moment because he's only 1 rend. And in today's meta, 1 rend, it's like nothing. Like everything will survive like in 4+ and be saved. The only thing good with Void Dwarf that he can fight and then zombies fight right away, that maybe help a little bit to accumulate damage from the start. But I have doubts about Radakar at the moment. Why I'm bringing him with Belladama? Because he's the one who brings wolves for Belladama, right? So we'll see. I need more games with the Radakar to say that he's worth taking or not at the moment.
I just see a lot of people getting. I think are they putting Flaming Weapon on him? Maybe he's not. Is he unique?
He's unique. He's a named character.
Right?
He's not a spellcaster. He's a named character, and he has 1 rend. If he had 2 rend on his attacks, yeah, he's great. But 1 rend, it's like very hard to do something with a pretty expensive model, honestly. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll test more and see how it goes. So that's that with the Radakar.
Cool. You got your Vamp Lord.
Plus
Please
1
continue.
attack. He's my general. I'm thinking to move and demote him from being general because he's being shot very easily because he's only 5 wound model, and bringing him to Vangorian Lord. Why is that? Because then my opponent can get battle tactic for bring it down and slay the Warlord in the one game. But killing Vampire Lord being a general is pretty easy, but he has an amazing command ability that gives additional attack to the zombies during combat phase. And what's best that it lasts until next hero phase. So on your opponent's turn, you can do it again and it stacks. So they will have +2 attacks, right? So, and if you have 25 zombies piled in with +2 attacks, like 3 attacks, it's 75 attacks. There will be some 6s for sure, right?
Yeah, I just want to call out one more good comment that came up from Gorgely or Gorgely. Just to loop back onto the Mega Gargant and why it might be a good consideration in someone's list is you don't have a lot of Rend in Soulblight, and the Mega Gargant brings Rend 2 and Rend 3 to the party, and it also gives you a pretty decent long range shooting attack. I played a game last night against Daughters of Cain, and I took half of Marathi's wounds off her through two rock attacks. Like I threw a rock one round, a rock another round at little Marathi, popped her for 4 wounds or 3 wounds because obviously she can only take it. But it gave me some long range threat as well. So that was just another good call out to consider because you do lack both long range shooting and you also lack Rend. You've got the mortal wounds, but you have the volume of attacks, but you do lack high Rend.
That's a very good point about his shooting. Great point, because it's 3+2+, and with all out attack it's 2+2+. Pretty good chance to get to Marathi, and -3 Rend. So basically it will go through and you get this your 3 wounds there for sure.
Correct. Yeah. Fanatical Faith, statistically she'll save 1 at best. So that's how I took down Marathi half the time without engaging her. So that, and you worry about point. Sentinels. Yeah. That's why I thought I'd bring it up and just loop back to the Gargant, because that actually is a really good point. Vangorian Lord, because someone in the chat as well was mentioning, why the Vangorian Lord compared to like Luca VI? Like, why wouldn't you go Luca VI as opposed to?
Oh my! I was so close to bring Luca VI in my new list. That's actually a good point, good question. And Vangorian Lord, I have to say, he was the model of the tournament for sure. He is amazing. You don't expect damage output, but he is a tank. And how he combos with a Giant, reducing Rend, Giant is unkillable at the moment. So he's great. So what happened?
How do they combine though? How will they combine though? Because Mega Gargant won't have any. I'm just going to bring up the War Scroll for a second. But how do they combine?
So what happens when you bring them together? He within 3 when he's in combat, Vangorian Lord is in combat, he reduces opponent's Rend by 1. Right?
Okay.
So whatever hits Gargant right now, it's not 2 Rend, it's 1 Rend. Whatever hits Gargant is, if it was 3 Rend, it's 2 Rend. And it really matters, right? So he brings to 35 wound model extra save, right? Also, he can buff with his spell, giving +1 to wound when Gargant hits. Amazing combo. And what happened in the final game? I was covering my Gargant with Vangorian Lord, but I was hoping he won't die from Dragon's shooting. But unfortunately, Vangorian Lord and Kevin was very smart enough to kill my Vangorian Lord right away from his shooting. That's how he fell, and then I didn't have this cover from my Vangorian Lord. Amazing model, very fast. The only thing what I would change, first of all, I would change his spell. You don't need a flaming weapon at all, because he's a not damage dealer, and extra 1 wound if you're lucky, you don't need it. I change now to a spell that gives extra 6-inch movement. So this will be very mobile utility tanking model. And yeah,
cool.
That's that.
Yeah. what would this list have changed if you had brought in Luca instead?
Luca,
And by the way, just to call out for anyone who might be a little bit confused, the Vengorian Lord doesn't buff the Mega Gargant, but what you're doing, Levan, is you are combining the two in combat. So that whoever is in combat with the Mega Gargant and the Vengorian Lord is reducing its rend, but it's not necessarily like it's only the Mega in combat. And so it's not a buff like that. It's that you're working
not buff.
together.
It's debuffing the model which is in combat.
Yeah. Just because the Mega can't get buffed, like it's an independent solo agent. So just want to call that out for anyone who's new and hasn't seen the combination. But Luca VI, if you swap the two out, assuming the points were the same and nothing else changed, like what would Luca bring to the table here?
Luca VI has an incredible spell that reduces your charge roll, like halves your charge roll within 12-inch bubble. So you put her in front of, let's say, fulminators, and suddenly from 3-inch charge, they need to do 6-inch charge. If they're within 4, it's 8 roll, right? So it's incredible spell that I was so close to taking Luca VI because of that. Downside, she's Avengori. She can benefit from Vikers, so she cannot reroll her spell, and spell is on 8. It's very, very, swingy. And that's why I just didn't take you. I decided to just, give Artifact to Vengorian Lord. That's it.
Yeah, no, that would probably be the key, right? Like you're not getting the real maximum value out of Luca because you're not in Avengorian with this type of list. So I can see, like, she's great. Like, I really like Luca. Obviously, you don't get the customization because it's a named character, and she does bring her own things. But yes, again, I've been running around with Marathi with Mind Razor on an 8. She only gets a +1 unless there's arcane terrain, and an 8 is really swingy. And then there's a really lot of strong magic casters out there in the meta. So even to get the 8 and then potentially get it unbound, it's quite difficult.
Yeah. Also, I would change Terminus Clock, which worked very well, actually. What does Terminus Clock do? It's once per battle. It's you use it, and your opponent is -1 to casting. So sometimes it helps. Even against Lumineth or heavy magic armies, like it's all over the board. So all spellcasters are -1. It helps, but you know what? I need something more consistent, so I change it to Sanxiron, or how it's called, when Vengorian Lord charges, he has additional D3 attacks, which might sound as like not too much, but this attack is D6 damage. So if you're very lucky, why not? You can squeeze lots of damage from that artifact.
What about the first artifact? I'm not going to try to pronounce it. It's like Phylex, the one that gives you basically Deathless minions for using 18. Yeah, because obviously, your game against Gavin, you struggled a little bit by stretching out against 6 objectives. Would that extension of Deathless have helped with board control, having Deathless at 18, or wouldn't have made a big difference?
No.
Because that would let you stretch out.
It would help if you're a novice player and you need this one, but if you can't control your 12-inch aura, you shouldn't play Death Armies. You should always be within 12, whatever you do. It's extra 6 inches. Yeah, it's a good benefit, but there is better stuff. You should know that you should be everywhere within 12. Plus, you have a grave sites that give you the same ability, right? So you can use, instead of hero, you can use your grave site as using like Deathless minions ability, right? So it's all over the board. Just be careful. I know I did mistake even in final game, but it didn't matter anymore, and I was tired probably. I was like half for 1 inch beyond my 12-inch aura, but it was my mistake. Learn to be within 12, because if you're Death Army, everything is within 12. Learn and deal with it. I wouldn't spend my artifact option for that, for sure.
Okay, no, I guess I'm less thinking about the game that you had against Gavin. I'm more thinking about in the meta right now, there is a lot of hero sniping, especially, you pop a Necromancer. You got a couple of small heroes providing you Deathless, right? So if I pop your Necromancer, you pop your Vampire Lord, and you did acknowledge that they are low wound count heroes, all of a sudden your Deathless bubble starts shrinking and you're relying on your grave sites. Does that bubble of, the Deathless getting extended help? And I guess what I'm hearing to you is right now, probably no. It's an option, but it's probably, if I was going to go to a tournament, am I going to spend my artifact on this super niche situation? Probably not. In hindsight, yes. Yes, in hindsight, absolutely. But is it reliable? Probably not.
Very good point. But we're talking about the artifact for Vangorian Lord. Vangorian Lord is nowhere near usually to zombies. He's a mobile unit who just, goes somewhere, does his own stuff, blocks something. He's not near the zombies. So I don't need his ability there. If you give it them to Vampire Lord, he's always close. If they snipe my Necromancer and Vampire Lord, as we discussed, we spent 75 points to get Gorslav. So it helps, but there are other ways to spend your artifact in better way, let's say, put it like that.
No. I like it. No, I'm talking this through so people who are looking at this going, is this an option? Because there is a couple of decent options depending on who you're going to put it on, right? Because the Cloak of Night Prowler is actually not too bad as well, being able to pile in an extra 3 inches, right? That, we do hear a lot of really good things about pile-ins, and obviously being able to get into some more juicier targets or maybe better position yourself. Now, it might not work with you particularly, but there is a couple of good options. So I appreciate your thoughts here.
Yeah, this book is incredible. You can use almost everything, right? It's not something, okay, Mind Razor. I go with Mind Razor, right? And that's it. No, like whatever suits you. If you always fail to keep this 12-inch aura, which is pretty difficult, then yes, do it for some time, play it for 3-4 months, then you learn, and then you say, okay, I don't need it anymore. Book is great. Like so much moving parts, so many, and you can use anything. There's no something like, oh no, it's unusable, throw it away. Everything usable in this book.
You got your corpse cart, you've got your skelly, you've got 10 skellies, you've got 60 zombies times 2, so you've got 120 zombies coming back. Absolute insanity. Yeah, Matt, absolutely. Like, I think that's kind of why I mentioned, it felt very much like Cities of Sigmar to me, because it is list techy. There's so many great combinations that Levan, you're probably still going to be learning, as you explore the book further and further. Which is great because it means you can buy this army and just keep playing for years and years if you choose to do so. And it is fundamentally different as well to a lot of play styles out there. But how does a corpse cart and your skellies and your zombies working together?
Yes, I will tell you what skellies do. Skellies are there to steal objectives. As soon as my opponent gets tired, round number 4, something, and he moves somewhere, and I have this sweet spot to get to the objective, then where they are. I don't need them for battling or something. They're just for stealing. And that what helped me on my semi-final game, where the battle line count. If there's a battle line, it only counts battle line for a purpose of controlling the objective. And there was probably 1 millimeter that I could, squeeze one skellies on the objective, and my opponent had heroes there. And so that's the only purpose of skellies. Zombies, you can see, right? They're just there. They're even if gargant's coming, there are 60 zombies against 30 models on the objective. They're still holding the objective there. Corpse card is great, but situationally, first of all, it shuts very often. So sometimes I just sacrifice it to what I did against, for example, James. I hold the right objective with my corpse card, so he had to spend 2 of his dragons to kill the corpse card and get the objective, and I didn't get all the damage on my zombies. However, I would change the corpse card from -1 to wound to +1 to cast and +1 to save, because I need this reliable casting from my necromancer to give 2 pile-ins for my zombies. That's where the strength of my list comes. So I need this +1 to cast.
That's the lodestone, not the brazier.
That's correct. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I would
yeah.
change. Yeah.
Yeah, the +1 to cast, especially when you've got a little necromancer, because normally your corpse cart, your necromancer, and your summonable zombie skeletons are all kind of together in a little nice little package. Would you consider taking 2 corpse carts? I know in
No.
2nd edition you would see that type of combination.
No, for sure, no, because too much investment. There are other things that very important in your list that you have to have, and it's overkill, and you don't need it. And they're only like 6 wound models, though, with 6+ save, and no.
Yeah, no,
Not 2 for sure.
Agreed. Like, I think maybe if you're doing a much bigger game than 2K, but maybe right now, like, because someone might look at your list and be tempted to swap out Gorslav for a corpse cart, and go, okay, they're roughly around the same points. But no, I think, something like Gorslav brings a lot of utility value compared to the corpse cart. But hey, no one's going to shoot the corpse cart. Most people would kind of ignore it.
Even bats are better than the second corpse cart, if you ask me.
Yeah. Well, something that's coming up in the chat a lot. A lot of people are kind of like screaming about it. It's interesting. I'd love your thoughts on, and I haven't seen this a lot in 3rd edition, which has been really disappointing, is the Coven Throne and the Bloodseeker Palanquin. Got that one out. Is there any reasons why you didn't take a Bloodseeker or a Coven Throne in this list? And
yeah, because just I have other stuff to invest, right? I considered Manfred, I considered Neferata. Good point about Manfred and Neferata. They do so much supportive stuff, like backup stuff, but in the end, you do all this crazy and interesting things with your army, and then you don't have output. I had this situation, I think it was my first game or something, I don't remember, and my opponent said, well, what would you change in my list? I said, well, you have so much debuffs, you invested so much in debuffing, and when it came time to shoot, you don't have nothing to shoot with, So that's my point. Like, I need some punchy stuff. So if I bring my gargant, I need at least something to punch, right? Because if my opponent is not scared of me to push back, then he goes all in and attacks me right with everything he has, and he doesn't care. So that's why I can't invest too much in supporting stuff, right? I need something to have and punchy stuff too.
I just don't think, like, I haven't seen it a lot, and I think part of the reason is there's just better options.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, there's just better options, because if I need utility, there are better options. Corpse Guard in this particular example, another hero. There's so many great heroes out there. If I need punch, well, I've got so many great options. I could go with a Manfred, not Manfred. Well, I mean, Manfred's great as well, but like Vordry, Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. If I need some utility pieces, I've got a Mortark to pull from. Like, there's so many. It's just like they're the jack of all trades, but they're master of none. And I don't think there's a strong reason to bring in a cover. How many points are there? Like 300 points, 200 points?
Under 300,
probably,
I believe. Yeah, something.
They're probably, that's a pretty solid chunk of change when you compare it to, like, if you want to run it, you do you, amazing. But I think when I'm looking at this list when I look at this list and I'll bring it back up and go, where's the fat to cut and bring a Coven Throne, a Bloodseeker Palanquin? Like, it's hard. Like, certainly the Vangorian Lord is far superior than having the Bloodseeker on the table. Would I drop back some of my troops to kind of, no, I need the bodies in this particular example. The only fat here is the Mega Gargant, I guess. But they play 2 completely different roles, and the Mega brings a lot of things that I would be happy to have. And if I'm not going to take the Mega, I'm going to take something that can hit hard, can soak up damage, has different value. That's not that.
That's true. Yeah. And also, I think we're covered my list. Also, what I would forgot to mention, and just it came to my mind yesterday when I was building a new list. It would really play well, I believe, and I hope, to add some endless spells like shackles. if you go heavy defensive objective grabbing and just be there, can you imagine if you throw in front of you some shackles that stops any charges against you? Good luck. And you don't care about charges. You have 6-inch pile-in, right? So you just come close and you charge when you want, but you can't be charged. And if he wants to dispel it, then waste your spell, right? So I want to try shackles too, because I don't think that people like thought about shackles a lot about in the Soulblight. But I think it's very utilitarian because the concept of Soulblight is not fighting. You're not fighter. You're like, I'm lover, not a fighter. Here the same. It's not about fighting and killing. There was no game where I tabled my opponent, right? I don't remember it was like that. It's just creating these objectives, play for wins, or play for victory points, and etc. etc. So stop and look. It's like my brother says. It's like your army should be something like blue deck in Magic, right? Just don't let your opponent play his game.
Yeah, you're playing control. You're playing an absolute control game.
So probably shackles would work very well. Yeah. So
especially if you're going to use in Viercross, because you're getting to re-roll the cast as well. I think the part of the challenge is a lot of people have dropped endless spells. One, they went up in points. Two, it's become harder to cast because there's not only magical supremacy out there in the meta, but there's also more ways to unbind, and I can use a heroic action to get rid of things. And I don't know if you saw that Cygors now can eat endless spells and they power up. It's fucking amazing. I can't wait to talk Beasts of Chaos. Like, it's so fucking cool. But like, again, like in all my lists, I have an endless spell, but I always drop it because I need bodies, because things just went up and it's struggling. But what you said is true. Having shackles in a control board, when you have layers, right? You've got shackles, you've got your grave sites, you've got your zombies, then you've got your heroes. You're really dominating the presence of the board. And I think, it'd be fascinating to watch you versus Nurgle, a control versus a control, because it'd just be an absolute grind. But a lot of these armies that are elite armies that have, high amount of mortal wounds, but, there's not enough to kind of take out 60 zombies, would just kind of struggle, and you'd get them at attrition.
Yeah.
And by the way, another good point as well, and Demonic Teddy mentioned it, if I was going to look for another hammer, I'd throw in, Graveguard. Like, that would probably be a more superior build than bringing in a Coven Throne or a Bloodseeker.
Yeah, that's the problem. You need to understand what kind of list you're building, right? Graveguards are great, Blood Knights are great, but then if you build fighting army as a Soulblight, which is on paper is very good, and we have very good accomplished players in our community to use them a lot, and like with a war dry and everything. But my point is that there are other books that are much stronger in combat and doing what this list does, but better. So if you want to play Soulblight, you should be different, right? That's the point. It's great, but there are better books doing that, right? So that's why I'm not moving to Graveguards, and I'm just using more utilitarian and controlling units.
As Matt said in the chat, Castello is about tabling, Viercross is about attrition of war. And if I look at your list, if I look at what you've been doing, you are playing purely attrition of war, because what you're noticing, and you probably saw this at LVO, a lot of people are building for a very strong first couple of turns, and they're not really playing to the back end of the game. And obviously that plays into Nurgle's strengths really well, and obviously into your strengths really well. That, turn 1, turn 2, even turn 3, they throw all of their eggs in one basket. They go as hard as they can, and then they often have very little less gas in the tank. So if you can play that attrition game, you're bringing back bodies, you're doing all this good stuff, you're denying battle tactics. I think that's the key, having some really strong options to avoid giving away battle tactics. You'll win the game.
Yeah, big hi to Matt. He's actually from our community, local community, Toronto, and he's probably most accomplished Soulblade player here.
He's happy to lend you Graveguard to try out. So maybe I need to get Matt on. Maybe I need to get Matt on to get a counterpoint to your discussion. But Is there anything that you've kind of learnt, or now moving into the Worlds, moving into the next ITC competitive season and all the things that are coming up in 2022? Is there any advice or experience or things that you would consider post LVO that you're now kind of either cooking up and you're not quite sure yet, or things you're thinking about, whether it's how do I handle? Well, now we got to work out how. Oh, you don't even care about Beasts of Chaos with their rend million minus 17,000.
For me, when I see the army with high rend, I'm more happy because I know then there's less attacks, right? And I don't care about rend. It's much harder for me to deal with skinks, right? That can probably wipe my zombie unit right away. With billion attacks, because everything goes through, right? It's so
which is what Gavin used against, and I can only keep referring to Gavin because it was the game I could only literally watch. If there was a frontline gaming stream of the tables, I would have loved to have seen more of your games. But what got you and your zombies was the crossbows, because when they don't move, it'll be 60 attacks, and it's that high volume of quality attacks, not crazy rend, not mortal wounds, a high volume of attacks that was able to get those zombies down. And not a lot of armies have that type of amount of output. I know my witch elves, I run a buffed up 30 unit of witch elves, which is 90 attacks, but that's pretty rare. But that's pretty rare in the meta. You're not seeing you're seeing high volume of mortal wounds and high rend, as opposed to high, low damage, low rend.
Yeah. Which works for Soulblight better, in Zombie List, right? So, yeah. For example, if you compare long strikes and judicators, it's better to face long strikes rather than judicators, right? So,
yeah. Any final thoughts or any comments that you're thinking about for this upcoming season? We'll kind of wrap it up. We could talk zombies forever. We could talk about undead forever. But it's nice to kind of see some different lists kind of rise to the top. And I'm sure there's some cracking Avangorian lists. I'm sure there's plenty of cracking Legion of Blood. Again, I keep mentioning, I think there's some stuff now with the White Dwarf supplement. But certainly, Viacross and Castello are definitely probably the two leaders right now. But anything that you kind of marinating, cooking, thinking as you move into the next season?
Oh, yeah, I think the new season will be very interesting for 2022 for hobby itself, because, we're coming from lockdown and the tournament just started. And we saw top 4 armies like Seraphon, Daughters of Cain, and all other stuff that was pretty same all the time. And I find that now people fed up with that, and everyone tries to bring something unique. And this new trend brings more flavor to the game. Yesterday, I saw that they published the list for RTT. Oh my God, they're like kids, trolls, everything that is possible. And interesting list. We have a Craigie with 18 Bold Boys and Cruel Boys from Cruel Boys. So very interesting lists, and I'm pretty sure they will perform well. And I'm more excited rather than taking back to autumn, where I said Daughters of Cain, Luminous, Daughters of Cain, it was
okay. Now it's just Stormcast. Well, now it was and it's hard because I'm not sure if the LVO demonstrated the new world, because we obviously had not a hard reset, but we had 3rd edition, then we had the winter FAQ, and there were some minor point adjustments, some hero manipulations, but I don't think the world got set on fire. You've obviously got a bunch of battle tomes coming, and I don't know if the FAQ for Nurgle being so close to the LVO stopped more Nurgle players coming. I don't know, because of the Fury of the Deep, if less Deepkin players and less Fire players come, or what that box will do. And we saw today in the Warhammer community, Fire Slayers have got some previews into the Urgold mechanics. So, and we didn't see really that many Lumineth. So I don't know if it was a weird skewed meta, or if we're about to see this is the new norm and Stormcast are here to stay. And a high propensity of Stormcast. There's a tournament locally in my community this weekend And it is a high chunk of Stormcast as well. So, look, early days, it looks like we might have to deal with Stormcast for a while. But I think how we think about and counter and play the meta, keep an eye out.
Yeah, there are ways to counter everything, right? So, so and regards on Saturday, baby. I think the spot where Age of Sigmar is not right now, it's fantastic. And the way that we see now that people are bringing new lists, new ideas, and they share, it's amazing. Returning to Soulblight, my advice would be not listen to anyone in terms of like, oh, this list is the best. It's not that book. Like, this is very flexible book. Build what you like, try it, and then you will figure out which kind of cogs you want to change, right? So it's a great book, right? Lore-wise and game-wise, yeah.
Well, you've given us a counterpoint. I know we've had a couple of shows, and I think I definitely owe Soulblight a few more shows. So, Matt, maybe I'll be in touch. We'll find out if there's a couple of other lists out there, and we'll kind of explore this. And you know what? If Viercross or pushing 120 zombies isn't for you, take some of Levan's thoughts, bring it in. Certainly, I'll walk away if nothing more about Gorslav. I was not considering Gorslav. I haven't really seen it in lists. But when you're using zombies, and even if I was just bringing one unit of 60 zombies, I could see value bringing Gorslav to support that unit. So, really good shout. Any final comments? Obviously, if people want to watch you play this type of list and others, Bulldog Hammer over on YouTube, cracking battle reports, you pump them out, and they're good quality. And Levan gave me a preview of the new studio they're building. So Season of War, you're on notice now. Bulldog Hammer's coming for you. Best battle reports are coming out of Canada. Like, Canada is like the home of Age of Sigmar battle reports.
Well, that's the biggest point. We're going nationals, just to say that there is a Canada also in a world map. So let's see how it goes. And big hi to our great, fantastic community, Season of War, Jordan, who is the captain of our national team. Like Knights of Pyre. We have so many clubs. I just don't want to tell it because I'll forget anyone. 3 Dragon, 6 Planet, like all you guys, thank you for all supports, and see you Saturday.
And more importantly, I think you've got a brother you might want to give a shout out to.
Well, I've been telling about my brother whole today's episode. Like, he's my coach. He was there telling me what to do. He's my inspiration, and he's the locomotive that pushes our channel forward. So of course, always big shout out to my brother Yuri.
Awesome. No, look, this has been a pleasure. It's been great to talk about a different style of Soulblight. And look, folks at home, if you enjoyed this, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, hashtag, I don't know, whatever. But more importantly, like, I'd be curious to hear if other people have been playing with zombie lists and what they've found. Is there any other combinations that we consider? I know some people, especially in the Graveguard community, they love like the White King. Instead of using the Vampire Lord, you use the White King. Like, there's so many little technical things that it's always great to explore. So I'd be curious to see how people are building their lists, and is there other ways to build it outside of Viercross? Is there some good tactics in Blood, Night, whatever it might be? But Levan, you're a legend. Thank you. I'm going to go to work. Happy Friday to you all. Happy Thursday to anyone who's not in my side of the world. And go check out Bulldog Hammer and subscribe to them because they're champions. Levan, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, boy. Thanks for sticking around until the end. I hope you found that video interesting and you walked away with a few new ideas. If you did, I would appreciate it if you hit like on the video, as well as left me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. The conversation will continue over on Discord, so links down below in the episode description if you want to join the Discord and continue the Age of Sigmar conversation. I want to give a massive shout out as well to these absolute bloody legends, these champions who have continued to support me through Patreon or YouTube members. That is going directly into supporting the maintenance and the growth of this channel. So thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated. And until next time, roll more 6s.